everyone, it's Jamie and welcome back to my channel. I am here today with an update video because it's been a super long time since I've done an update video. I think my last video was in like April, around 24 hours of cross stitch, and I never even posted anywhere about doing 24 hours of cross stitch, but I did. I participated. I did not make it to 24 hours, but you will hear about that in this update. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is cross stitch. I'm also going to talk a little bit about knitting, and I'm also going to talk a little bit about sewing because apparently I decided I need more hobbies because I don't have enough, clearly. So for cross stitch, 24 hours of cross stitch was right after my last video, and I ended up doing a new start, which I had talked about before, so it shouldn't really be that surprising to people who have watched my previous videos. And I started Yennefer, which is charted by Charting Creations, and it is a character from the show Witcher. There's also games and books, but like this artwork is based off of the show, like what she looks like in the show. It's not what she looks like in the games necessarily. So here is where I am on this chart. I am stitching this 2/1 tent stitch, which is a half stitch, and I am doing all the black first, hopefully all the black if I don't get too bored. And so this right here is like 10,000 stitches of black. It's insane, it's a lot, but I like the way that it looks stitched up because like you can see the outline of her dress, you can see her hair right here, and then her mask on her face is basically all black. So it's gonna look really cool when you can just see like black mask on her face. So there is Yennefer. And then the other thing I worked on for 24 hours of cross stitch, and I worked on this one for like 4 hours, and like I said, I did a total, it was like 18 hours for 24 hours of cross stitch. I did not make the 24 hours, but it happened. So I ended up working on, I need my notes, Sunflower Seeds for Ukraine by Witch's Garden Crafts. It is a chart that I bought for, they were raising money for a charity for Ukraine. And I am considering this chart finished. There's still like a couple things on it that I could have done, but I decided to leave them off. It looks fine without it, and it's a finish now. So here it is. I am leaving off. There were some sunflowers at the bottom next to dye, but I was like, it looks fine without those sunflowers, and now it is done. I stitched this on 28 count fabric that I had dyed myself. It's 2/2 full cross, and I am just happy to have a finish on the same weekend that I had a new start. So it kind of evens out my start a little bit by having a finish. So there was that. And then I decided that I wanted to work more on charts that needed to get to 5%. So I pulled out this one chart and then I put it away after like 2 days, but I'm going to show it anyways. So I pulled out the chart Tarot Town 2 by Heaven and Earth Designs. And it's one that I had started a long time ago on 22 count. And then I hated the 22 count, and so I restarted it like last year, I think. But I still don't like it necessarily, so I ended up stitching on it for like 2 days, and then I put it away. So I don't know if I'm actually going to keep on working on this one or just retire it forever and just like use this fabric for something else. So I restarted it in the center, and I am using 28 count now, 2/1 tent stitch. And my plan was that I dyed this fabric to be like the background because there's like sky at the top, then like in the chart it fades to purple, and then there's like yellow at the bottom. So I wasn't going to stitch all of the background, or I was planning on stitching the background using like just one strand so you would still be able to see fabric through it. But for some reason I'm just still not loving stitching it, and I don't know what it is about this chart because I love the artwork, but when I go to stitch on it I just don't actually enjoy stitching it for some reason. So I worked on it for like 2 days and then I put it away, and I don't know, like I said, if I'm going to keep working on it or just I would just cut out what I had done and then start something else on this fabric because this is a big piece of fabric. So there was that, and then I ended up pulling out a different chart to get to 5%, and I'm enjoying working on this chart, so I'm happy about that. And I pulled out Walking in the Rain, I think that's what it's called, yes, Walking in the Rain by Artisy, and I am stitching the large cropped version. So there is a regular size and then a large size of this chart, and then you can buy it cropped or uncropped. And if you buy the uncropped chart on Artisy, it will actually tell you where to stitch if you want to do the cropped version, but I just knew that I was going to do the cropped anyways, so I just bought it already cropped. But it's nice that they do that so that if you want to buy the full size, you can later decide to crop it yourself and not have to buy a whole different chart. So here's where I was before I started, and here it is now. And this chart, it has so much confetti, but it's kind of nice to have one chart with a bunch of confetti, and then I have Yennefer where it's just all one color and like large blocks of black. So it's like a nice balance. If I'm tired of confetti, I can go to Yennefer, or if I want confetti, I can pull this out and stitch on this. I am stitching this on 25 count 2 over 1 10th stitch, and I actually am going to say that I think I like 25 count more for 10th stitch because it's not as thick with all the color changes, because this chart has a ton of color changes, but it's still not getting super thick like some of my other charts have. So there's this, and I think that is my last chart that I had worked on since my last video. So the only other thing cross-stitch related to say is I am going to the Colorado Stitchers Retreat in September, which I'm excited about. So I am going to be going with my sister Janelle, and I'm so excited. But yeah, so it's not until September, so I have a while until that, but I need to decide if I want to do a small, which if I did a small, I would have to buy a small because I don't have anything that's small, but I wouldn't be able to really show that until after anyways. So yeah, there's that. I'm not sure who else is going to the Colorado Stitchers Retreat. It would be nice if it would be fun if someone watching was like, I'm going, because then it would be like, yay, I will see you there. But so there's that, and now I will move on to knitting. I'll do sewing first because I'm wearing the sewing. So I decided to get a sewing machine is back there because I don't have anywhere else to put it right now. So got a sewing machine to attempt sewing. I watched too many sewing videos during the pandemic on YouTube, like Rachel Maxey. Love Rachel Maxey, Bernadette Banner, costuming drama. I watch so many YouTubers that sew, and so I eventually was just like, I need to attempt sewing if I can. And I also watch a lot of people who sew like historical-y things, which I think is what kind of got me where I am now. So I got this pattern, and I don't know, it probably was not the easiest one for a first pattern because the bias tape is just like, ooh, I didn't really like sewing that on, but it's fine. So here it is. I got Sailor Moon fabric off of Etsy, and it's actually a reversible one because like I said, I watched Rachel Maxey a lot, and she made a reversible like corset thing. She didn't use the same pattern, but I watched the video and I was like, I get a basic idea of what she did. So the other side is just black, and I actually used fabric from an old woven baby carrier. I have a ton of baby carriers, and this was one that wasn't like a super expensive baby wrap, not a carrier. If you've ever seen baby woven wraps, they're like really long pieces of fabric. I have some that are really expensive that I would like to use for something, but I don't know, like I need to get good before I attempt to cut into those, because I have one that's like a $200 wrap. They're crazy expensive, and I'm not using them now though, so I would like to do something with them. But yeah, so I made this reversible, and now I want to make more sewing things, but I don't have a stash of fabric yet. I'm going to need to work on my sewing stash instead of yarn stash and cross-stitch stash. So there was that. And then for knitting, I have been working on the Find Your Fade shawl, which is by Andrea Mowry. I am missing one of my things for my knitting needles. I'm gonna grab one real quick. So Find Your Fade. For the Find Your Fade, I am using all yarn from So Livy Dyes Yarn. Last year she did a yarn of the month for Laura Olympus, which is, it's a web comic, but they also have books out now. I got the books from the library. There's one book out. I have a hold on the second book, but the second book is not out yet, so I'm waiting for that. And here it is. It's so big at this point. It's huge. Like, I should have known it was huge based off of how much yarn it uses, but I didn't realize how big it was going to be, so I don't even know. I'm just gonna like have to like cover myself with it to show you. So this small side here, and then the point down here, and then it will just keep going out into the abyss, just never ending. So yeah, this is all the Laura Olympus, like I said, So Livy Dyes Yarn. She's on YouTube. She has videos for knitting. She is on Instagram. And yeah, her yarn, it's great. I love these colors so much. So this was all Laura Olympus. The first color is Persephone, then it goes into Mint, and then the purple. Wait, am I reading this right? Yes, okay, Persephone, Mint, then it goes into Zeus, Daphne, and then this is twisted right here. Gaia is this green. I will show you the ball because that's easier. Gaia. So there's that. After this, there's still 2 more colors, and these last 2 colors, they use like the most amount of yarn, so I'm just like, of all the colors that are used so far, like these colors here, you don't use very much yarn, so I actually have yarn left over. The last 2 colors use like the most amount of yarn, so I'm like, how much bigger can this get? Like, it's just gonna be a blanket by the time I'm done. I don't know. But yeah, so I'm excited to get that done, even though it's like summer, so it's getting hot. But I want to get that finished so that I can start working on another knitting project, like something summery, tank toppy, warm, because it's gonna be like 80 soon, probably. Anyways, so that is everything that I worked on. I also was playing games, so there wasn't as much crafting going on. I've been playing Pokemon Arceus. I beat like the 5 frenzied Pokemon, but then there's stuff to do after that, but I'm not going to say what it is in case anyone else is playing because I don't want to like spoil anything. So I did the 5 like quell the Pokemon that were like raged. And then I've been playing Immortals Phoenix Rising. I got like obsessed and played it for like a bajillion hours over the last weekend, and I love it. It's about like goddesses and stuff, and it's just a really fun game and really like colorful. I like colorful like games. Like dark games like Skyrim are fun, but they're like kind of scary, whereas this is very colorful and not scary, and I like that a lot more. And then I think that's, oh, and then I was also reading because I don't know why. I just started wanting to read like the Bridgerton books because the series are taking forever. Like each season is going to be a different book, and it's like, if I can just read these books instead of waiting for the seasons, I'm just going to do that because I am way too impatient. Like, I want to know who Penelope marries now, not next year. So I started reading books, and yeah, it's just taking away from my crafting time, but I'm still trying to get some crafting done. So anyways, that was some rambling, but I hope that everyone is doing well. It is almost summer here, so I'm excited to not have to deal with like school anymore and waking up early, just being able to relax for a couple of months before school starts. So I hope everyone is doing well, and I will see you all in my next video. I'm thinking possibly to do a whip parade, but I don't know, because whip parades are always like really long to film. But I need to go. So I will see everyone in my next video. Thank you everyone for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Bye.